everybody, this is B, and we are back again with Red-Handed Red-Handed Robin. God, I don't know why that's so hard for me to say. But we're gonna continue from where we left off, and that was a long time ago. So, I think it was this one. Before I could decide, Jay cleared his throat. Robin, I'm sorry. Wait, is this old? Okay, but I feel like... Okay, I feel like we've been through that, buddy. Did we? $21, $21, $21, $21, $21, $20. I saved a lot during these phases. I guess it is this one. Okay, yeah, I guess so. Robin, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said those things last night. It's just, I don't want anything to happen to you. I was stressed. My heart skipped a beat and then the room suddenly felt much warmer. Stressed, huh? Not jealous. He looked annoyed, but there was a tinge of red in his face as well. Stressed. Fine. You don't have to admit it, yet. We sat there together in silence. That was still a little awkward, but much less than before. Then I remembered something I wanted to ask. Jay, how old are you? There was still a lot we didn't know about each other. I found myself wanting to learn more about him. 22, I suppose. 22? That's much younger than I thought. Jay quickly picked up on my surprise. He quirked at his eyebrows and gave me an annoyed look. How old did you think I was? Just older than that. Something was odd about his phrasing as well. What do you mean, you suppose? He shrugged his shoulders. I don't really think about it much. The way you said it made me a little sad. Did he perhaps not celebrate his birthday? How about you? What do you mean? Your age, idiot. How old are you? How dare. Spare me the delicate lady act. I think we owe each other a few personal questions. Wouldn't you agree? 24. He put his hands to his chin and looked away. That explains it then. Excuse me, I'm 26. So you saying something? Seeing me blush, Jay let out a bark of a laugh. I'm only joking. I don't know what you're so embarrassed about. 24 isn't old. Yes, well, I didn't know what I had been expecting him to say, but it wasn't that. I never heard him laugh like that before. It's kind of cute. Is there anything else you want to drag out of me? My weight, perhaps? My bust size? His sly smile made me instantly regret saying that. Would you tell me if I asked? I think I preferred it when you were sulking. Maybe it's just the lack of sleep, but you seemed sweeter than usual. Suddenly I felt an ominous pit in my stomach. I need to freshen up and change. Mind giving me some privacy? Oh, that scared me. That door. I was prepared for some witty remark, but Jay simply nodded and made for the door. Left alone in my room, I took a moment to collect myself. I'm getting too attached to him. Nothing good had ever come of that. He doesn't intend to stay with me. He told me as much. If we made it to Gale's, Jay was going to leave, just like everyone else does. Thoughts of Jay clouded my head as I started getting dressed. After some time alone, I called Jay back into the cabin. So, what do you intend to do about the detective? I've already told you what I think is the best course of action. I thought for a moment. Staying in the room wouldn't seem that strange under normal circumstances. If someone came looking for us, I could say I feel ill. But would that satisfy Wren? Surely he would realize we were avoiding him. On the other hand, leaving would mean continuing to interact with the other passengers. That would mean more questions and more lies to keep track of. More opportunities for Wren to look for suspicious behavior. Would I be able to keep up this charade for another 24 hours? I'm not the only one in danger, either. I looked at Jay, who was patiently waiting for my answer. We'll stay in the cabin. You're right. It's the best way to keep from implicating ourselves further. You agree with me? Don't act so shocked. A broken clock is still right twice a day. You were bound to make a correct call eventually. I'm just glad you're listening for once. I couldn't even keep you in here without resorting to force, and I'd rather not have to do that. Thanks, I guess. I briefly wondered if he would really do such a thing. He was certainly capable of keeping me here against my will. I said I'd protect you until we reach Gale's, and I intended to keep my word. Blue, stop attacking that. My cat's attacking this cardboard milk thing. It's the lost kittens. It was a mystery box that I got for me and my friend. Blue! Stop. Demon cat? There it was again, until we reached Gale's. Ask if he'll be alright on his own. Ask if he will stay. We're gonna ask him to stay. Jay, if we make it through this, why don't you stay with me? It's a foreign country. I'm bound to run into some trouble. It would be nice to have someone that I could trust. Won't you at least consider it? I'll give it some thought. He changed the subject. What about the case? I had thought about that too. Even if we don't intend on going anywhere, it's not safe to leave it in the open. We'll have to hide it somehow. Anyone with any sense will be able to find it in here. That's why we won't hide it in the cabin. I've come up with a brilliant hiding place where no one would even think to look. You're enjoying this possibly life-threatening situation a little too much. All we need is a length of rope. I wonder if there's some sort of storage area we could steal from. There's no need. I have some in my luggage. He got up and began rummaging in one of the suitcases, pulling out a coil of hempen rope. That's a little concerning. What do you have that for? What do you think? I decided to leave well enough alone and not question him any further. Why does that door keep scaring me? I tried one of the end ropes to the case. I tied one of the end ropes to the case and opened the cabin window. Sticking my head outside, I searched for something I could tie to the other end to. As I hoped, there was a handle of some sort just out of sight. After making sure both knots were secure, I handed the case to Jay. Toss it up onto the roof. Are you sure it will stay? If we're lucky, it will catch on something. He leaned out the window and heaved the case upwards. We heard a muffled thunk as it landed on top of the car. Jay gave a tug on the rope, making sure the case wouldn't easily slip back down. It held, so he retreated back into the cabin and closed the window. Well, what did I tell you? Ingenious, wouldn't you say? It was quite clever. I am a master thief, after all. I wonder, Master Thief, where you hide all the riches you stole on your previous successful heist. Yes, well, wealth isn't the only measure of success. Is that so? And here I thought that was entirely the point of stealing. Perhaps you should leave it to us professionals, then. I suppose you're right. With the jewelry safely hidden, Jay and I settled in for what we hoped was the rest of the trip. Sadly, that was not to be. A little while later, we heard a knock on the cabin door. I made to stand up, but Jay blocked me with his arm and answered instead. A familiar, grinning face greeted him. Morning, or should I say afternoon. It was, of course, Detective Wren. Perhaps it was just my imagination, but he seemed a little worse for wear. I thought I could just make out a faint, dark circles forming under his eyes. What do you want? I had half expected this. Wren wouldn't be satisfied if his opponent dropped out. Sorry for the intrusion. Did the two of you sleep well? I said, what do you want? Not a morning person then, I understand. Well, you see, my investigation has come to a rather abrupt halt. You don't say. That made him brighten up a bit. Shocking, I know. My keepers wouldn't be satisfied unless I left no stone unturned. So, I'm here to ask a bit of a favor. What sort of favor? I was hoping the two of you would consent to a search. Jay looked ready to slam the door in the detective's face. I approached the two of them and placed a hand on Jay's arm, trying to will him to relax. I thought you said you didn't have the authority to search anyone without just cause. You're a good listener, Robin. You're right, I can't search your room against your will. That's why I'm asking for your consent. I've been making my way through the passenger cars, asking everyone the same. So far, everyone else has agreed. It's made my job much easier. You'd be welcome to observe me, and I'm also being monitored by a scribe here. He gestured to a man I hadn't noticed until then. A train attendant was standing just behind him in the hallway. So I can assure you I won't be doing anything unscrupulous. You do, of course, have every right to say no. He didn't finish his statement, but I understood him regardless. If we refuse, it will make us all the more suspicious. The case is hidden, at least. There shouldn't be much else for him to find. Well, obviously, we're gonna have to consent. By all means, detective, do as you see fit. I opened the door wide for Wren and the attendant to come in. Go ahead, you won't find anything anyway. Jake gave me a nervous glance but stood out of the way. I appreciate you being so cooperative, my lady. Wren addressed me with a deep bow that reminded me of when we were children. I gave a playful response in return. Anything for you, detective? I thought I saw his face go a bit red as he turned away to start his search. If I had my hopes that Wren would go easy on me, I was wrong. He was very I cannot read. Worked his way through the room, checking even the most inconspicuous of hiding places. He even asked to go through our luggage, which I agreed to. Sorting my things seemed a bit difficult for him, though. Embarrassed to be handling a lady's delicates, detective. Not in the slightest. It's part of the job, after all. But he hardly even looked as he riffled through them. He hastily stuffed everything back in my suitcase and moved on to Jay's. You have a lot of rather menacing things in here. Is that so strange? He is my bodyguard, after all. All of it is legal. I'm sure it is. By the time he was done, Wren looked exhausted. Everything seems to be in order. Thank you again, Robin. You've been most helpful. There's just one other thing. He waited for the attendant to step forward. Ticket, ma'am? Pardon? Scribe has been checking everyone's ticket as we go. Killing two birds with one stone, as they say. Oh, God. The ticket. Wren was there when we boarded. He knew what I had said about the red splotch on it. Would this attendant examine the ticket more closely? Why did he need to see it at all? Wren must have sensed my hesitation. Unfortunately, this is something you can't refuse. When you boarded this train, you agreed to play by its benefactor's rules. Just a moment, I'll go get it. I went to my bag and began slowly rummaging through it. The ticket was in my coat pocket, but I wanted to buy some time to think. If I said I can't find it, what would they do? What happened to stowaways on trains? Did they get put in the brig? Did trains have those? Perhaps I could make the splotch the least conspicuous thing about it. There was still some old coffee in the cup on the table next to me. It would be no trouble at all to accidentally spill it. Wren was sure to see through such cheap trick, but he wouldn't be able to do anything about it, would he? Oh, silly me. Here it is. I pulled a ticket from my pocket and made the decision. Oops. As I turned, the ticket in hand, I knocked the coffee cup over. Coffee spread across the paper and stained it a dark brown, covering up the red. Oh no. I hope it's still readable. I handed the sopping wet ticket to the attendant. Right. Looking rather disgruntled, he held the ticket between two fingers and examined it. What an inconvenient accident. I hope you're alright. Wren gave me a look of mock concern, but his smiling eyes betrayed him. Don't look at me like that. What other choice did I have? There wasn't much the attendant could glean from the sopping wet paper, and so with an annoyed sigh, he thrust it back at me. I suppose that's it then. We'll be off now. Just a few more people to bother before we're done. The two of them started down the hallway, but Wren spun on his heel. I almost forgot to say, I'll see you in the lounge later, Robin. Oh, we're not. He cut me off before I could decline. You've become quite popular among the other passengers, you know. Many of them were asking about when you didn't show up to lunch. Surely you wouldn't deprive such an eager audience of your presence. And besides, you seemed so hungry for attention yesterday that others might find it odd if you suddenly decide you preferred the privacy of your cabin. He gave me a sly wink and disappeared down the car. Jay slammed the door shut. Persistent little prick, isn't he? I sighed. He's already searched us. What does he plan on doing if we don't go? We should have the upper hand now. Yet Wren was still insistent that we show our faces. Do you know something we don't? Robin, something has been bothering me. What is it? Do you think Wren is really here investigating by himself? Police don't usually work alone. Now that he mentioned it, it did seem odd. Are you saying he has a partner hidden somewhere? Or do you think... Is he lying about being a detective? I don't know, but something strange is going on. I sat there, lost in thought. Jay, let's go to the lounge. Jay sighed heavily. How did I know that would be your answer? He didn't protest, though. As Jay got ready, I absent-mindedly cleaned up the mess left by the detective. What sort of games are you playing, Wren? I was determined to find out. Jay and I chose to wait until a little after the dinner to return to the lounge. When we entered the car, we were surprised to be greeted by a whole crowd of people. Ah, Robin, you decided to join the fun after all. Robin, so good to see you again. Ah, and your companion as well. The elegant woman was there too, as were the men who bickered about rugs during the dinner. Everyone gave me various gestures of acknowledgement, with the exception of a large attendant standing by himself in the corner of the car. One person was suspicious by his absence, though. He insisted I be here, yet he's nowhere to be found. Good afternoon, everyone. Please, have a seat. He motioned to the empty sofa nearest to him, which Jay and I obligingly took. I hope we're not intruding. Not at all, Robin. We were just talking about you, actually. Is that so? Only good things, I hope. Of course, dear. It seems you charmed a great many people in this short time we've been together. A mysterious woman with a personal bodyguard boards a train out of the country. It's like the start of a romance novel. I don't think I'm as interesting as all that. Come on, Robin. There's no need to be modest. There's a fair number of interesting things about you that you have no qualms sharing last night. Tell me, where is it you're from again? That's a rather personal question. Is it? The rest of us seem to be discussing it just fine before you arrived. Of course, you don't have to answer if it makes you uncomfortable, Robin. This is why you wanted me to come, Wren. Is this why? Oh god. But if that was his plan, why wasn't he here to egg them on? It's alright, Jay. As Mr. Fletcher said, I don't mind sharing. I'm from the capital, born and raised. That was a lie. Though I wasn't originally from the capital, I had stayed there long enough to be convincing. Saying where I was actually from could lead to even more suspicions. After all, it's not every day that the daughter of the wealthiest man in town goes missing. Ah, the capital. A fair few of us are from there. It's nice to be right in the heart of Zephyr, isn't it? You don't even need to travel to board the train. Yes, my sister and I were about... Yes, my sister and I was just complaining about the trip from our hometown in the south. And you, handsome, where are you from? Same as Robin. I wonder if Jay was telling the truth or simply going along with my lie. You were saying you live in the capital too, right, Mr. Rhodes? Yes, though I'm not originally from there. I moved for business. It's a veritable garden of industry. A business a businessman yourself then, Fletcher. What is it you do? I'd rather not say. My enterprise is still in its infancy. It's bad luck to count your crows before they're hatched. Isn't the saying chickens? Actually, I've read that saying it's crows instead of chickens in Gales. The woman suddenly gasped, causing me to jump a little. Could it be that you're originally from Gales, Mr. Rhodes? Fletcher didn't look pleased to be put on the spot. I spent some time in Gales, yes. He offered no more information on the matter. How interesting, Fletcher. Is it your business that takes you to Gales now? An amused smile crossed Fletcher's lips. It looked as though he wanted to laugh. Very astute, madam. But as I said, I don't wish to speak of such things at the moment. I have to say I enjoyed your company last night, Robin. I was afraid I wouldn't see you again. Fletcher definitely changed subject. He's a smooth talker, I'll give him that. I do wonder, why didn't you attend lunch or dinner? I'm afraid I wasn't feeling well this morning. I thought I might have spent the entire day in the cabin, but thankfully I started feeling more myself this afternoon. I'm so glad. It would have been a shame if we had to go without your sparkling conversation. I think I know what illness you're speaking of. We adults call it a hangover. Yes, a hangover. Thank you, Fletcher. Honestly, I was a little wary of leaving my cabin as well. It's rather chilling to think that there might be a criminal amongst us. I'm sure you needn't worry. The detective is here after all. I doubt a murderer would try anything under the watchful eye of the police. The detective can't afford to let them get away either. If he does, he might not be a policeman for much longer. What's he talking about? What do you mean by that, Mr. Rhodes? The detective might lose his job? Would he really be fired for a single incident? He seems like a good, honest person to me. Most good, honest people aren't criminals. What? I tried not to look concerned, but what Fletcher was saying was troubling. Oh my, what crimes has he committed? Perhaps I've said too much. Come now, you can't just accuse the detective of being a criminal and not elaborate. Fletcher heaved a small sigh. I suppose you're right. I have various sources inside the police department. They tell me Wren is quite the handful. He's rumored to have done, well, a whole laundry list of things, really. Tampering with evidence, breaking and entering, selling police information. He's very definition of crooked. Oh dear, he seems like such a nice man. He is charismatic man. There's a difference. They say he's a spy, an eye on the inside, serving a master hidden in the shadows. There's no concrete proof, of course, but the department is eager to get rid of him. I suspect that should he fail to catch his culprit this time, as a detective will be over. And if that should happen, well, there's no use for an eye who can't see, is there? I think it's safe to assume that losing his job wouldn't be the least of his worries. Tell me, does such a man sound like he can be trusted? The group was taken aback by the revelation. Was Wren really capable of all that? Those are rather heavy allegations. These are merely rumors I have heard, which is why I was hesitant to share it in the first place. I ask that you take all this with a grain of salt. A spy? Is that true? Was this the reason for Wren's suspicious lack of a partner? And why did Fletcher know all that? This doesn't sound like you at all. I had to remind myself that the person I thought I knew had been gone for over a decade. Just who are you now? Not many people realize this, but the Galish rug making process is entirely different from Zephyri's process. For example, the conversation meandered back to more mundane topics, but my mind was still on Wren. If you say the word rug one more time, I shall sneak into your room tonight and smother you with one. Fine, the Gaelish making process then. If something tragic befalls you tonight, sir, at least we know who the detective should investigate first. A door opened, drawing everyone's attention to the front of the car. Ah, speak of the devil. Wren had arrived, followed by the attendant that had been with him earlier. Oh, it seems I'm late to the party. It's good to see you all again. He cheerfully greeted everyone, but the group gave him a rather lackluster reception. Detective, it's good to see you too. Detective. Only the two older women and Fletcher seemed unperturbed. Welcome back, Detective. It's been a long day for you, hasn't it? If Wren noticed the less than enthusiastic atmosphere, he was good at hiding it. As Wren and the others exchanged pleasantries, the attendant approached Fletcher, leaning down to whisper something in his ear. Curious. The attendant retreated, leaving the car through the opposite exit. How did your search go, Wren? Can we finally put this murder mystery to bed? I've been able to gather quite a lot of information, actually. Collecting all the pieces to the puzzle comes first and foremost. Does that mean you're close to finding the culprit? Yes, do tell. Are they really here on the train? Even when they think you're a spy, they can't help but like you. Well, would love to share. The game isn't over yet. It would be premature to show my hand before all the cards have been dealt. But you haven't folded yet, have you? That's quite telling, Detective. Do you think so? Perhaps I'm bluffing. Your mysterious aura is intriguing as ever, Wren. You find me intriguing? How refreshing. I'm more accustomed to being called annoying. I suppose the novelty of my personality has worn off for my colleagues. They aren't the only ones. I find you annoying as well. Fletcher chuckled. It seems that your constant chatter is starting to wear some of our company's patience, Wren. Oh my, not fond of the detective glasses? He was certainly asking a lot of questions about Robin last night. It wasn't just about... Perhaps that's the reason for Jay's prickly attitude. Intimidated, are we? Not in the slightest. That's good, because intimidation was never my intention. Though I am sorry you find me abrasive, I have hoped we could be friends. Jay gave Wren an credulous look. Friends? He can't be serious. It was pretty bold of him to suggest such a thing while attempting to implicate us in a murder. What a lovely rivalry. How exciting to have two men fighting over you, Miss Robin. Oh, wait, I'm not. I laughed nervously. Inconvenient is more like it. If they keep this up, one or the other is likely to say something unnecessary. We're gonna scold Wren. I think it's just their personalities clash. Though the detective does seem to be intentionally antagonizing my bodyguard. He really has no reason to do so. Wren caught my meaning and sheepishly looked away. I'm not sure how offering someone friendship is considered antagonizing, but if you insist. My apologies, Jay. I will never suggest such an awful thing again. He's still being facetious. Good. Why does it feel like I'm dealing with two bickering children? Fletcher gave a hearty laugh and turned to me. You're very authoritative, Robin. I suspect you make an excellent mother. That was random. It was an innocent enough comment, fairly close to what I'd just been thinking myself. For some reason, it made my skin crawl. Fletcher, this isn't the first time you said something rudely presumptuous to me. I'm beginning to wonder if you're doing it on purpose. Oh, it hadn't occurred to me that motherhood might be a sore subject for some. Now that I think about it, of course, you're right. Please forgive me. But there was still a tinge of amusement on his face. That's your second strike. I won't be so forgiving the third time. Naturally. My, could it be that there are 3 suitors vying for attention? It certainly seemed that way last night. I'm not vying for anything. I ought to be young again. We're putting on quite a show for the peanut gallery. Ladies, you're embarrassing me. Perhaps we could talk about something else? The woman laughed and reassured me they meant no harm, and the conversation moved on. As the sky outside grew dark, our numbers dwindled. The two older gentlemen excused themselves, but the conversation was still going strong. The topic had returned to the Scarecrow Feast, the fall festival that was about to be held in Gales. I wasn't sure why Wren had insisted I return here. We were talking about nothing of consequence, and the detective didn't even seem interested in interrogating me this time. As he chatted happily with other passengers, I can't help but wonder if the things Fletcher said were true. Well, unfortunately, we're not going to know until the next video. So I hope you guys enjoyed. It's definitely interesting. I don't know if I'm going down the right path or not. I definitely got curious about Wren. And I'm kind of like, man, I wish we went for him. But we're still going for our boy, Jay. But anyways, I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye!